like Dream is about to push, and he's just engaging in this little choke corner outside the natural, which isn't really smart. He should be waiting, maybe camping a little bit outside, hoping that the Protoss would try and engage it or something, because he really shouldn't be engaging throughout this corner. And look, he's trying to engage again, and all Protoss do is lay down possibly 4 force fields, and now the army just getting wrecked. And now he's splitting off half of his army for some reason, so that now the smaller half would die easily. And although he took out the Colossi with these Corruptors are just standing there getting hit, and now just move back. Even though he killed the Corruptors, Inglory's army just way too big at this point. And if Inglory pushed now, he would most likely win. But as we see here, Dream is remaxing with Roaches and just now getting his Spire +1 attack done and +2 done, which is great and all. And if we look over here at the 4th, it's really undersaturated, and this natural is oversaturated, and this main is slightly oversaturated as well. Looks like a small attempt of engagement going on, but now if we look here at the unit tab, there's 6 Corruptors, which is fine. There's 40 Roaches, which is fine, but he should be remaking those Hydra lists now, because he did minimize that Colossi count for a little bit. So Hydra list would be fairly strong in this Gateway army. And if we look over here, Dream is finally going to the center of map instead of engaging at this little corner. But he still is fairly blind. If we look over here at Dream's vision tab, he still doesn't know if Inglory has a 4th or not. He really has no idea. And if Inglory did get a 4th, they would be on even footing. Well, technically, Inglory would be slightly ahead, because Dream is only at a 4th base, and his 4th is undersaturated. So he really does need to spread out those overlords, spread his creep maybe a little more, well, a lot of more, and really just have some sort of idea about what Inglory is doing. Looks like a small engagement is going on, as we see here, no Hydras, and if we look over here, there's only 2 Colossi. So a couple of Hydra lists would actually be fairly strong in this pure Stalker competition. And if we look over here, there's currently 6 Corruptors, which is a fairly decent amount against these 2 Colossi. But and it looks like engagement over here, and looks like Dream is just getting wrecked because of this concave. His bad concave, and right now Dream is just sacrificing his army. Let's see, he killed a cannon, he killed a pylon, and he just traded his whole army for that. He's not even attacking Inglory's army until now, and that's basically what the computer for Dream's unit did. So basically, Dream just sacrificed his whole army for a pylon and a cannon. And now if Inglory just pushed out, he would just win right away, because if we look over here, although Dream is getting remaxed, just look at the Roaches outside Dream's main. It's not fairly enough for this big ball of death. As we see over here, Inglory's getting out his 4th just now, fairly delayed. Dream's not larva injecting a little bit. His drone count is actually fairly low. He really needs to drone up again. He's only at 67. A good amount would be like 75, maybe 80 even. And his main is just oversaturated. He really needs to start getting Hive. He is getting Hive, but it's a little bit late. Alright, let's see over here. Dream is just remaxing, getting out some Hydras now. Definitely would have been fairly useful earlier. It looks like England trying to expand again, but because of that creep spread, that creep spiel by that overlord, it got slightly delayed, which was what Dream should have done a lot earlier to this 3rd, so that the 3rd is slightly delayed. And looks like Dream is moving in center of map, even though he has no Corruptors at all besides these small 6 Corruptors, because he's mad. Dream needs at least like around 9 Corruptors, or maybe even 12 to deal with this Colossi. And now once again, Dream is finally engaging in slightly better choke, although it's not the best. It took more force field to just force field off Dream's army, and a majority of Dream army is just destroyed because of the high Colossi count. And now Dream is just basically dead at this point. There's just nothing to do. He can't kill this army. And although the Protoss is just backing for now, Dream is just basically dead. His drone count is fairly low. His corruptor count is low, and basically, Anglory just cutting off Dream's reinforcement. Basically, as a Zerg player, you really don't want to engage near your bases because when you remax your reinforcements, like these 3 roaches at a time, it's just dead. So that's why generally when you attack or get attacked, you really want to be more in the center of the map or near, or slightly closer to him, to your opponent actually, so that way you can remax easier and just reinforce as a big ball instead of having like lol three roaches come by and just die. So we look over here, +3 is getting research, which is great. If we look here at the Protoss upgrade, +3 weapons and 1 armor, so Dream is slightly ahead in upgrades, but he just can't really deal with the unit composition of Anglory, and his 4th is fairly undersaturated, and his 5th is just there for show. Just there for show. I'd actually transfer these drones at least natural because it's getting slightly... It's just gonna die, and the main is just fine. So as we can see over here, 67 drones on the unit top. Just fairly isn't enough to saturate more than 3 bases, and even then. So there is a push route in the middle of the map, and he's doing a little bro funny business, just checking. If he had that observer, if he had that overseer, he could have sniped that observer and actually had the potential to do some damage with that burrow. But right now, Dream is basically dead. Even though he's maxed, if we look at here the units are still being produced, and Dream's max ball is just like 1/4 of it because all the max units that he just produced, I mean the units he produced that made him max, haven't fully came out yet. As we can see here in the tab, and now Dream is just basically dead. So frankly, a lot of things for Dream to improve on, mainly scouting to actually know what the player's doing. His upgrades and unit composition is fine, but he really had to choose his battle engagements wisely and actually be joining up more because he is fairly undersaturated this late in the game. So anything to say, Dream?
Not really. I just gotta make sure I don't engage in the choke. And I always thought that Hydras were to counter the Colossus. I don't know why.
No, they're not, but they're very good against gateway units, so you should have a couple of those because they're fairly strong. But then these Colossi that you weren't unable to deal with because you kind of toss away your maxed army, wasn't very saturated, had no idea what he was doing, didn't delay his 3rd by any bit. Basically all those little things eventually piled up. Also your corruptor count really got diminished after that first engagement because you didn't move them back fast enough after killing those Colossi. A thing you could have done is after you kill those Colossi, you maybe could have tried to back and just remax and then try to push again with Hydralisk, more Hydralisk, because you took out his Colossi and your corruptor count is high. So that's a little thing you could have done, and just really engaging that choke, tossing away your army, not scouting enough, lack of drone production, and somewhat of unit composition really costed you the game. I would talk more about your creep spread, your overlord spreading, but I don't really think your creep spread and larva inject really could have costed you the game, but those are some things to improve upon. What I really like though is your upgrades. Those were fairly nice, besides your Spire upgrade, which is a little bit delayed, and really just saturating your bases. So that's basically it. Dream, any last comments?
Well, I have one last question. Do you think that, I don't know, an unconventional method like a Nidus would work?
Depends on how you really use Nidus. Like, if you're using fairly early in the game, it is fairly all-in-ish. Around mid to late game is actually perfectly fine, but then I don't really think Nidus would... I mean, it's a nice way to do some harassment, but I think drops are a little bit better than Nidus, to be honest. Also, you should
Okay.
really incorporate Overlord speed in your build so that you can just send these Overlords and just sack them, fly around in his base, see what he's doing. You have to... Also, you really do have to scout him early, obviously. I keep going over that, and actually sacrifice an Overlord around the... I would say 5:30-ish, 5-minute mark.
Right. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was a
you
huge
sacrifice
mistake
it
on my
around
part.
5 minutes
I
or
seriously forgot.
5:30, and you get a chance to go in his base. You can really see what tech he's going. You can see if he's 3 gating. You can see if he's 1 basing maybe. If you have a Ling outside at his natural too. You can see if he's maybe getting a Twilight Council. Basically, you really do need to sacrifice that Overlord unless you're able to sneak in his base some other way. Because you do need a scout. You do need to get that information, and you really do need to adapt. But overall, those are your mistakes this game, and that's basically our 2-part episode on how to analyze your replay and improve on it. So thank you, Dream, for coming on this, and goodbye.